A woman walked into the preservation room, followed by a police officer. She was completely stunned when she saw the cold body covered by a white sheet. She burst into tears right away because it was her inseparable best friend. Going back to the day before, that's when everything started and ended. At school, there was a group of 3 sisters. Like this. They were Fa, always spacey and out of it. And another was the incredibly famous star of the school, the Queen, in everyone's eyes. Her beauty was so striking it was almost sinful. She'd become a school goddess. No matter where she went on the street, she attracted an unbelievable amount of attention. And people would even come up and ask to take pictures with her. What's more, some people even went to that school just to be her classmates. Then there was Gail, a rich young lady with a gentle and mild appearance. On this ordinary but emotional morning, Gail repeatedly watched her audition tape, worried that overacting would keep her from passing the selection round. On a normal morning, as Fa was trying to wake up after a wild night, Queen called her to go to school, warning her that if she skipped school one more time, she would get expelled. At this moment, a handsome and dashing guy walked towards Fa with confident strides. Fa didn't care about him, but for RJ, who had done that with her before, he wanted to keep seeing Fa. Fa felt really annoyed that he kept following her around like that. She said angrily, "If I had to date everyone I've spent the night with, I'd have to date the whole school." That's why Fa's nickname, One Night Stand Queen, was so well known. Sleeping around everywhere, flirting all over school, she's really something. The girlfriend next to her heard this and shook her head, saying a few sarcastic things about Fa. Fa immediately used one of the traditional Thai arts, cussing and hair pulling, to show her what's what. Queen walked by and quickly pulled her friend away. Tomorrow is April Fool's Day, and Queen booked the VIP area for Lie Night. She invited her 2 best friends to go out, but Gail felt conflicted. Her boyfriend was coming back from overseas tonight, and they wanted some private time together. But Queen didn't care about their reasons. No one could leave her alone tonight, because today is the birthday of the handsome guy Athens, and Queen wanted to claim him tonight. But what's interesting is that even though Athens was talking to Queen, his eyes kept glancing at Fa. Later, everyone went to Gail's house, which was decorated like a palace. The young lady's closet was overflowing with all sorts of clothes. The 3 beautiful girls with hot bodies began a very exciting dress-up game. When the black, white, and red trio finished getting ready, Gail's handsome boyfriend, Toy, was waiting downstairs. Queen didn't care about Toy's sadness about Gail, and broke up the reunited couple after their time apart. After arriving at the bar, they danced, drank, and mingled under the neon lights. The girls decided to set themselves some risky challenges for the night. Queen was in charge of seducing Athens. Fa just wanted to stay sober for one night, without getting drunk and not looking for a guy. And as for Gail, the mission that Queen assigned her was a one-night stand. Gail was shocked, because she was the healthiest living girl of the 3, never having had a one-night stand and not even thinking about it. Besides, she had such a handsome boyfriend, she would never do something like that. At this moment, the spotlight focused on Athens. His dazzling image made Queen's heart flutter. After a bit of seductive winking, she immediately moved to invite Athens for a private chat. She invited him to drink some strong liquor. After a few drinks, the 2 naturally transitioned to a passionate makeout session. Fa discovered that the video of her arguing with a classmate had been posted online. The entire internet was scolding her for not only being promiscuous, but also for lacking character. How did Fa, who was once an innocent girl, become one-night stand goddess? Like this? Fa was furious. But unfortunately, the playboy RJ kept bothering her again. How could he ever get any attention from her? Seeing Fa angrily walk away, RJ turned his head towards Gail. Gail didn't want to give him even a single look. She really lived up to her name as a beautiful and arrogant young lady. Gail found a quiet place to take a call from her boyfriend, Toy, but because of her rebellious nature, she still wouldn't tell Toy her location. Toy, alone at home, got so angry that he smashed a glass, not knowing how to release his frustration. Soon after, Gail got the news that she hadn't passed the audition. What she didn't expect was that the person who had taken her role was her closest friend, Queen. Feeling betrayed like a thorn in her throat, Gail desperately needed to relieve her stress. Suddenly, the music became more intense, and a handsome masked man appeared. He gazed intently at Gail, who was dancing on the dance floor, and with a quick step, he pulled her into his embrace. They met once, joining together like fire and water, their passion burning intensely. Clothes fell everywhere. It was a night of seduction and ecstasy. The scene changes to Fa, drinking to ease her sadness. Each strong drink she took made her lose her consciousness more and more. When Fa opened her eyes again, she found herself lying in a pile of smelly, dirty trash. Because she drank too much, she couldn't remember anything. And just like her, Gail also couldn't remember what had happened to her. When Gail woke up, she looked around in a panic and confusion, as she saw her body was completely naked. What was strange was that the person who appeared at this time was her boyfriend, Toy. Even though it was clear she had spent the night with someone else, and how could Toy have found her? As she was thinking, Toy gently patted and stroked Gail's head, asking her, "Don't you remember anything that happened last night?" The scene changes, and a horrific incident has occurred. The body of a young woman was discovered in the park. At the moment, the cause of death is still unknown, but her identity has been confirmed. It's Queen, the girl with millions of online fans. An investigator wants to quickly close the case by determining the cause of death as suicide. But the policewoman thinks that because the girl was lying face up and only had one high-heeled shoe on, the chance of it being suicide is very low. The scene changes again, and a dazed Fa was told that her close friend had passed away. Fa didn't even believe the truth of this event. If not for the police questioning, she would have thought it was just a joke by Queen on April Fool's Day. Fa confirmed that Gail was the last person with Queen, but Gail had absolutely no memory of what happened last night. The clock turned to midnight. Athens pushed Queen off of him. Even though they had been in a maybe relationship for a month, he still couldn't forget the person in his heart. On Fa's side, she just came out of the bathroom and bumped into Athens. At this moment, a man returned the bag that Fa had left in the bathroom. Fa then realized that she had unconsciously gone into the men's room, but in Athens' eyes, it looked like Fa had just finished doing something she shouldn't have with that man in the bathroom. Fa immediately slapped him, not understanding why his thoughts were so dirty. Soon after, Fa was called outside by Queen, and they started a heated argument. Fa felt bored, so she went back to the bar and drank heavily. She deliberately acted playful with RJ to provoke Athens. After that, Fa couldn't remember anything else. The police estimated the time of Queen's death to be between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., but Fa didn't have an alibi during that time. Fa didn't understand why the police were targeting her so independently. Why didn't they ask Gail, who had a better relationship with Queen? The police replied that Gail had an alibi. Last night, Gail's boyfriend had taken her home, and they had stayed together all night. Toy was the nephew of the deputy chief of police, so his word had a lot of credibility. But Gail still didn't understand how Toy could have known where she was. Toy explained that Queen had told him their location. After Toy left, he only found Gail lying unconscious, and didn't see any sign of Queen or Fa. Gail vaguely felt that the truth wasn't what Toy said, but she couldn't remember anything. Gail walked along the path in the school, and everyone looked at her with strange eyes. Her classmates said she was cold-hearted. Her best friend had passed away, but she still came to the exam like nothing had happened. At this time, some female students discovered a new world. A video of Queen and Fa fighting had spread online. Going back to that night, Queen ordered Gail to record the video on the side. She wanted to end this bad friendship. Queen completely ignored Fa's explanation, and a slap landed immediately. She wouldn't give way to Queen either. Queen swore to reveal all of Fa's bad secrets, so she could experience the ultimate feeling of being ostracized from society. Back in the present, Fa questioned Gail about why she had posted the video online. Gail hesitantly said that Queen had forced her to do it, and she had no other choice, even though she deleted the video afterward, because Queen's death had drawn attention. The video had become popular. Athens couldn't stand Fa's cursing behavior, so he pulled her outside to calm her down. But Fa couldn't calm down at all. She had just gone out to have fun last night. Who knew that after waking up, her best friend would be dead, and she herself would be burned? What was going on? She asked Athens why he had said something to Queen last night that had made her so angry. Athens said it was just him rejecting her confession of love. Fa felt even more frustrated. Then why was he coming to her? He didn't like her. Athens immediately proved through his actions that the person he liked was Fa. While Queen's passing was still not even mourned, they were dating like this. Was that right? The scene changes. Gail remembered that after Fa left last night, Queen forced her to pour dirty water on Fa. Gail couldn't stand Queen's hot temper. She angrily said that she wasn't her servant. Queen guessed that Gail was angry about losing the audition role. But what did that matter? In Queen's eyes, Gail was only ever worthy of living under her spotlight. Gail clenched her small fist. A feeling of anger and jealousy suddenly surged in her heart. Returning to the present, Queen's funeral was held in a simple, discreet manner. So much so that people doubted whether Queen had actually been from a wealthy family, or if it was just a lie. Suddenly, Queen's last photo updated with a new status. She said that whoever was lying should confess immediately. Even if she was dead, she wouldn't disappear. This post made everyone very confused. Was it a lingering ghost? Gail, with mixed emotions, rushed out of the funeral. She turned her head back and unexpectedly saw the handsome man she had a one-night stand with recently. The man was assertive when he told Gail that she had lied to the police. Last night, she hadn't been with her boyfriend but with him. Returning to the night, Queen had her accident. The spontaneous male staff member had wrapped his arm around Gail's waist seductively and asked, "Are you sure?" Gail only needed one night. It didn't have to be serious. One passionate night had passed, but the next morning, the handsome six-pack man, who had just woken up, confidently showed off his figure in bed. However, when he turned on the TV, he saw the news about Queen's death on the street. On the table, there was an intimate photo of them. The guy told the police that Queen couldn't have committed suicide. What was the relationship between these two? The scene transitions to the memory of this guy in high school. He was a good student, patiently guiding Queen with her homework. He often stroked her head, and it seemed their relationship became more special. With the guy's help, Queen finally got into college. But this guy had to go study abroad. Queen looked unhappy. Why was she always the one left behind? The guy comforted her gently, saying that even if they were far away, they wouldn't be distant. Queen thought that her aunt wasn't home today, so she could invite the guy to come to her house and hang out. Unexpectedly, her aunt was home, and she immediately scolded Queen for not being a decent person. Even when the guy assured her that their relationship was innocent, and they wouldn't do anything bad, the aunt's words were still equally harsh. The aunt warned Queen not to get pregnant, or she would definitely force her to have an abortion. Returning to the present, Gail was curious about the relationship between the guy and Queen. The guy answered vaguely that Queen was the most important woman in his life. He always believed that Queen was living well, and it wasn't possible for her to commit suicide. But Gail laughed scornfully and said that Queen was the best at lying. She was completely unlike what she said she was. Speaking of lying, the guy thought that Gail was no less skilled, even though Gail had stayed with him until almost 4 a.m. She had lied to the police, saying she had been with her boyfriend all night. On the other side, Fa wanted to find out why she had woken up in a pile of trash. Luckily, there was a noodle shop across from the trash pile. The shop owner complained that on that night, around 4 a.m., Fa had been dropped off at the trash pile by a black car. She had kindly gone to advise her, but she had been cursed out. However, when Fa checked her history, she discovered that she had never called a car that night. So, who did that black car belong to? The next day, when the police checked the apartment that Queen had rented, they discovered suspicious points. The security camera data had been completely deleted. It seemed the killer had prepared everything. Suddenly, the police found drugs in Queen's room. They asked the two best friends if they knew about Queen's situation. They both immediately denied it, completely. Even though they hung out together, they really didn't know about the drug use. Fa spoke with fear, but the police didn't believe her. In fact, she immediately took urine and hair samples for the police to check. However, immediately after that, shocking information was revealed. Queen had updated a new status. This time a line written in red ink, which read, "Fa killed Queen," on the mirror. However, behind that sentence, there was another line. "Don't believe it, it's just a joke." Fa felt hurt and cried desperately, wondering how she had become a suspect after just one sleep. On the other side, Gail went to audition for Queen's character in the film crew. She had overheard the director say that her acting was okay, but she lacked charisma. The director planned to find a more charismatic internet celebrity to audition. Gail got so angry, even though she seemed like a well-behaved girl. The scene switches again. Toy was winning over his mother-in-law with sweet words. Gail's mother was pleased by his sweet words and smiled happily. Toy really was the perfect son-in-law. However, Gail wasn't interested in this perfect boyfriend, but Toy loved Gail deeply. He affectionately made a sincere offer to Gail. "I love you. No matter what happens, I will be by your side through every difficulty." After he finished speaking, Toy wanted a loving kiss, but he was coldly rejected by Gail. Gail could tell she had gone too far, so she flattered Toy to help her say good words to the director, since the director and Toy had a relationship. After that, Toy and Gail went to Queen's funeral. He immediately saw the man who made him angry and tried to control his anger, asking Gail about that man. It seemed there was some bad blood between the two, but when Gail asked more closely, Toy didn't say anything. So what had Toy been through with that man? After the funeral ended, Toy still had an unhappy expression. Gail didn't understand what he was angry about. Toy angrily said that, on the night he went to pick Gail up, he had seen Gail dancing with that other man. Gail became even more flustered. It was just one dance. Why are you angry about that? Toy looked like he was trying to swallow his anger. He had to find another topic to avoid getting angry. Outside the car, Shivas, with a deep look, was staring intently at them. He remembered the night he met Gale. His gaze shifted, and a spark suddenly flashed. The two of them were lost in a dreamlike moment, when the sudden appearance of Toy broke the romantic atmosphere between the two. Toy stared, using an angry gaze to pull his drunk girlfriend out of the bar, and Shivas silently followed behind. From the police records, Gale really had been taken outside the bar by her boyfriend before closing. But the bar also had a secret escape route, usually where drug users fled to avoid police checks. Unfortunately, that place wasn't equipped with surveillance cameras. Although Gale was still doubtful, all the evidence seemed to point to the high-heeled shoes, because in her urine test results, drugs were found. The clue about the high-heeled shoes made the investigation really confusing. Suddenly, Fa remembered 6 months ago. Fa was sitting at lunch when she heard the next table discussing excitedly about Fa's short film with someone else. The people opposite her were eager to see it, making Fa so angry that she threw her plate. Want to see it? I'll show you. The original uncensored, unblocked, high-quality version. At first, Gale was sympathetic to Fa, but when she saw her crazy, troublemaking personality, she thought she deserved it. Fa stood alone on the rooftop in a daze. When she was about to raise her foot to stand on the railing, Queen came and said with a smile, "Don't be silly, stay with me. I'll make all your worries disappear." Queen wasn't lying. After a night of passionate dating, the feelings between the two girls suddenly developed strongly. Queen hugged Fa and said, "I consider you a friend. Don't betray me." Fa promised that if she betrayed her, she would suffer karma. Back in the present, Athens advised Fa not to worry too much. He would be by her side and face everything with her. Listening to him, Fa remembered the scene when she and Athens first met online. They had a good impression of each other from the first meeting, but Fa had a bad reputation and didn't want Athens to know about her school, so she didn't tell him. It was a coincidence that Athens was in the same school and the same department as Fa. What was even stranger was that Queen, with a beautiful smile, begged Fa to use all her ways to seduce anyone, but to please leave Athens for her. This made her really awkward. Unexpectedly, Athens liked Fa. Queen's cursing woke Fa from her nightmare. Who knew that she had just woken up and was summoned by the police for questioning? Fa couldn't believe it when she saw the drug test results. She swore she had never used drugs when sober. Because Fa had no prior record, the police let her go home first. Fa carefully recalled what had happened that night. Suddenly, she remembered that the playboy RJ had said he would take her out for something exciting, and the next morning, RJ had started bothering her. Could she have done something with RJ that night? Switching to another scene, Toy's friend unexpectedly pulled out a bag of special flour. Gale felt that the bag was very strange, but everyone at the scene wasn't paying attention. Had Gale really never touched powder, as she said? The next day, when Gale got home, her mother scolded her mercilessly until she knew that Gale had been out with Toy. She quickly changed her attitude. She advised Gale that she absolutely had to catch Toy, a rich and handsome guy, unlike what she had done, choosing a poor and weak man. Gale felt very uneasy inside, but she couldn't say it. Her mother only cared about Toy's earning potential, regardless of his dangerous flaws. After Gale returned to her room, the more she thought about Toy, the more she felt something was wrong. So, she arranged to meet Shivas to ask about what had happened that night. Going back to the night Queen had her accident, Toy angrily pulled Gale out of the bar. He angrily asked Gale why she was secretly meeting with other guys behind his back. How could someone with a boyfriend do such a thing? Toy's sharp words made Gale angry, and she slapped him. Toy couldn't keep up his daily well-behaved and polite demeanor. He reacted by slapping Gale back. Just as his iron fist was about to fall again, Shivas appeared powerfully, stopping Toy's action. He scorned Toy, saying that hitting women wasn't the action of a man. Toy initially wanted to retaliate, but his strength couldn't compare to Shivas. He was knocked down by Shivas and had to watch his girlfriend be taken away by another man. Gale had no energy to go home tonight. Shivas could only take Gale to his home. Shivas didn't tell the police about what had happened. He wanted to give Gale a chance to confess to the police herself, but Gale kept insisting that she wouldn't remember what she had forgotten. Shivas calmly took out the images from his home security camera. Even if Gale didn't remember, the images of her leaving Shivas' house would help her remember. Queen was the most important person in Shivas' life. If Gale continued to be blind, don't blame him for not being gentle. What actions would Shivas take to clarify the truth about Queen's death? Meanwhile, elsewhere, the guys looked very worried. RJ, with an annoyed face, spoke to them. If you don't talk, I won't talk. The worried mood made some people become angry. Without saying a word, they had started fighting. Athens tried to stop everyone, but the result was just a new circle of arguments. After RJ was pulled out by the coach, he looked very unhappy and angrily threw things out. At this moment, Fa's phone rang again. RJ immediately grinned, and then, seeing the opportunity, he invited Fa out to hang out tonight. He would reveal everything at that time. That evening, Fa arrived on time, but RJ still didn't get to the main point. He kept pouring drinks for Fa, and even took pictures together, as if to prove their relationship. Athens, seeing this picture on his phone, was so angry that he couldn't bear it. RJ led Fa to a quiet place, and his face turned pale as he told Fa about the events of that night. It wasn't easy to say. His expression made Fa feel even more embarrassed. What had finally happened that night? All RJ said, in a mysterious way, was that Fa, when drunk, felt it wasn't exciting enough, so she had asked RJ to bring something stronger. RJ had prepared seasoning for her, and Fa, after using it, felt extremely excited and wanted to enjoy that night more with RJ and two other men. In the complexity of that night, Fa was surprised and wondered how she could have done such a thing. And why had she slept in the trash? RJ didn't know either. He only hoped that Fa wouldn't reveal the news about the white powder she had received from him. His mood became even more complicated. She was just about to leave, but she discovered that Athens was standing there. Damn it, it's drugs again, along with multiple partners. The goddess image shattered completely once again. Would Athens continue to be the dog chasing after the goddess this time? As long as the goddess coaxed him a little, would he blindly choose to trust the goddess again? Scene change. Gail went to find her boyfriend Toy. She randomly saw Toy's friend coming out of the room. Toy on the phone was angrily shouting at someone on the other end of the line. He angrily said that, "If he bothers me again, I'll take care of him." Toy was becoming more and more suspicious. Gail wanted to ask clearly about the night Queen had her accident, and where her and Toy's clothes had gone. Toy answered unnaturally that they had been sent to the laundry, but Gail felt that it wasn't that simple. She hoped that Toy would stay away from that friend from before, because after all, this person was introduced by Queen, and was also involved in drug use. In the present moment, it was best to stay away. But Toy intentionally changed the subject, saying that he had helped Gail get Queen's role. What was Toy hiding? That evening, when Toy was fast asleep, Gail sneaked in and opened his phone. She called Toy's most recent contact, and from the other side, it seemed to be RJ's voice. He rushed in and said loudly, "Fa is taken care of. Toy, quickly handle your part." Gail tiptoed back to bed. She thought that she had done everything secretly, and without Toy knowing. But suddenly, when Toy opened his eyes, he looked towards her with a sharp gaze. Scene change. Shivas went to search for clues at Queen's aunt's house. The aunt was very easygoing. As long as she was paid, she would allow access to the house. In the small house filled with memories, Shivas couldn't help but remember the first time he returned to the country, when Queen had cutely wanted to drive his luxury car. Shivas couldn't resist her innocent look, allowing her to become increasingly excessive. Queen gently emphasized, "Can you stay with me?" No one could resist that. A question that revealed Shivas's current single status. Queen quickly seized the opportunity. "If I didn't see you as a brother, I would have kissed you." Shivas was flustered, his face red, and he immediately gave Queen the luxury car. Back in the present, Shivas discovered that one of Queen's drawers couldn't be opened, and her aunt didn't have the key either. What did that drawer contain? The next day, Shivas went to Queen's house again, and this time, he realized that Gail was there too. Just in time, Shivas suspected that Gail was covering for her boyfriend. When she heard about this topic, Gail turned her head and ran away. However, after thinking for a while, she decided to ask Shivas why he suspected Toy. Going back to before Queen had her accident in a gorgeous outfit, Queen confidently stepped out of the luxury car that Shivas had lent her, exuding the aura of a rich and noble woman. However, Shivas quickly exposed her facade of wealth. He couldn't understand how Queen could live such a luxurious life. Perhaps she had engaged in illegal activities. Queen countered, "Your company's registration capital also came from the mafia. We are the same kind of people." Queen proposed that from now on, she and Shivas wouldn't interfere with each other. Shivas agreed readily, but Queen had to return the car first. But with what Queen held in her grasp, it wasn't easy to return. As Shivas's memory ended, he asked Gail if she wanted to know why Queen suddenly became rich. He showed her a photo. It was Toy's current associate, Pepper. Shivas pointed out that Pepper was a drug dealer, and Toy was also involved. Even though Toy was the son of a big boss, he had no business sense. and he had only ever known how to have fun. Interestingly, after meeting Pepper, Toy's business grew stronger, and his fighting spirit became stronger as well. He definitely wasn't a clean businessman. Gale angrily confronted Shivas. "If you have evidence, go find the police." However, Shivas didn't have evidence. The one who had evidence was Queen. Before Queen had trouble, she had called Shivas saying that someone wanted to kill her. As a result, Queen really disappeared. So, who was the culprit? Gale felt that just based on this, it was completely impossible to prove that Toy had a problem. At this moment, the person who had been following Gale that Toy had sent over, sent the picture of Shivas to Toy. Toy, after seeing it, became angry. His eyes went wild. Why was this guy stalking his girlfriend? Pepper reminded him not to let personal feelings interfere. He asked Toy how the deal with the detective was going. Toy, restraining his anger, answered that he had given him what he wanted and was currently waiting for a response. On the other side, Queen's account posted another new post, this time still about Fa. The online criticism of Fa was overwhelming. At this moment, Gale called Fa to ask if Queen had said anything secretly about Toy. But before Fa could answer, Toy suddenly appeared like a ghost. Gale took the opportunity to ask Toy why he had lied that they had been together that night, and if he had anything to do with Queen's death. Toy was angered by the questions. He slapped Gale hard in the face, pushing her to the ground. Immediately after that, hard kicks rained down on Gale's body. Hearing the phone on the other end of the line, Fa realized that the situation was bad, so she rushed over. The weak Gale was beaten by Toy until her body was bruised all over. Immediately after Toy's angry storm had passed, he became gentle and soothing, reassuring Gale. "Everything I do is because I love you too much. Even though I was so angry, I didn't let you bleed." Gale looked at him with disbelief. As Toy was still clinging to Gale, Fa arrived just in time to rescue her. Seeing her friend knocked down, Fa immediately prepared to confront Toy. But as a weak girl, she couldn't defeat the burly Toy. Gale, in a panic, quickly grabbed a bottle of wine and smashed it on Toy's neck. Immediately, blood flowed from the back of Toy's neck. In his anger, Toy immediately launched a second attack on Gale. Fa quickly seized the opportunity and picked up a broken bottle, threatening Toy that she would call the police. Finally, Toy retreated temporarily before Fa's threat to call the police. Fa didn't understand why Gale didn't call the police directly. It turned out that Gale was about to participate in a TV series, and now she just wanted as little trouble as possible. Fa remembered when Queen had talked about how Toy liked to hit women. Initially, Fa didn't believe it, but today's situation helped her realize the truth. She didn't understand why a girl like Gale, with her noble demeanor, could endure an unstable madman like Toy. Although when angry, Toy wasn't human, but normally, he was very good to her. Everywhere, Athens always thought that RJ's claim about Fa voluntarily using drugs and giving herself was unfounded. He looked for an opportunity to force RJ's underlings to reveal the truth about that night. Under pressure, the underlings couldn't endure and revealed that RJ had secretly drugged Fa. He wanted to wash himself clean. He especially emphasized that he had no idea about Queen and RJ's plans. In an instant, Athens grasped an important keyword. It also included Queen's incident. Immediately, Athens called Fa to inform her. That night, after RJ waited for her to become unconscious and put her in the car, when she learned the truth, Fa felt many emotions in her heart. It seemed everything was becoming more complicated. On Athens' side, he intended to lead RJ's underlings to the police station to confess the truth. But the young man didn't want to bear this risk. He pushed Athens away and ran off. Unfortunately, he was hit by a car as soon as he left the house. On Gale's side, the more she thought, the more worried she became. A stranger dealing drugs with Toy, and RJ contacting Toy when giving drugs to Fa. All the clues pointed to Toy. Scene change. On the news, they were broadcasting information about a new type of drug, which was a clear, odorless liquid. Users would experience dizziness, memory loss, and loss of consciousness. Therefore, this drug had the bewitching name, One Night Stand. On Shivas' side, as he was looking at something, Gale suddenly came to visit. Shivas noticed the wound on Gale's face. He scolded Toy as a swindler. At that moment, a seductive woman came out of Shivas' bathroom. Gale had met her before at Toy's house. She was Pepper's current girlfriend. It turned out that she was a spy that Shivas had sent to get close to Pepper. On the other hand, after learning that she had been drugged by a secret person, Fa immediately went to see RJ. Without hesitation, she slapped RJ hard. Immediately after that, she pushed him into the water with a merciless kick. Fa became angry. She roared and threatened him. "Just wait and see, you will go to jail." After venting her anger, Fa didn't waste time and went to see Athens at the hospital. Athens told Fa that she didn't go to his house that night to participate in group activities, but was taken to a hotel that Queen had stayed in before she passed away. What had Queen ultimately done to Fa? Fa couldn't believe that Queen would betray her, even if there was a disagreement. They were still friends. Athens laughed, saying that Fa was too naive. You considered her a friend, but she just wanted to steal your boyfriend. Even to hurt Fa, Queen wanted to show Athens a 10-minute video of Fa. Athens, as a sincere worshiper of his goddess, never lied. Queen's behavior only made Athens feel disgusted. Queen tried to create such opportunities, but no man was worth it. Queen became extremely angry. At this moment, Queen received a threatening message. She realized she was in danger, so she contacted Shivas, saying that someone wanted to harm her. Shivas didn't hesitate and got into his car and rushed over. However, Queen dragged her two best friends out to cause a heated argument. Then, according to Queen's arrangement, Fa was taken away by RJ, and Gale and Shivas had an interesting encounter. But how would all of this affect the friendship between the girls? Queen had RJ take Fa to the hotel. Then, she called Toy, and the tired Toy gave the white powder to Queen. At the moment, he just wanted to know where his little girlfriend was. Queen deliberately prolonged her tone, intentionally teasing and concealing information, saying that she had left Gale at the bar. Toy immediately rushed off to find Gale, and from there was the scene of Toy hitting his girlfriend and being hit back. That day, after Gale went home with Shivas, she just wanted to rebel, wanting to release her stress. She tempted and asked Shivas, "Do you want to sleep with me?" Initially, Shivas wasn't interested, but then, because Queen called Shivas, regarding him as a backup tire, asking Shivas to come pick her up, Queen's attitude of, "Call and he comes, wave and he leaves" toward Shivas made Shivas feel angry. He sent the picture of Gale to Queen, hinting that he was not someone no one needed. Immediately after that, they started playing games with each other. Queen saw the picture and felt uncomfortable. She had some bad guys film a short video of Fa. At that time, Toy angrily called and complained to Queen. Queen laughed and cursed Toy for deserving such treatment. At this moment, Gale was on a path of infidelity that was getting further and further away. Her head was only filled with images of Toy. At a critical moment, she managed to stop herself. Infidelity and sneaking around weren't things she could do. She had just left Shivas's house when Queen's phone call came. Queen was crying and talking about her feelings. Gale, as a good friend, immediately went to find her. However, pretending to be weak was just one of Queen's tricks. Her real purpose was to lure Gale over, so that Toy would catch her and teach her a lesson. With a hazy look after using drugs, she thought about her two best friends, each of whom had a relationship with the men she liked. She laughed loudly, then cried hysterically. The more she thought, the angrier she became. On Toy's side, he was preparing to go pick up Gale when he suddenly saw a red figure falling down. Queen fell from the sky. Toy was terrified immediately. If he had taken another step, this body would have landed on him. Toy vaguely put Queen in the trunk of his car. At this moment, Gale ran over with a horrified look, saying, "Queen fell." Before she could finish speaking, Gale had already fainted in Toy's arms. The security guard on patrol saw blood all over the floor and suspiciously asked Toy what was going on. Toy didn't explain. He directly used his power to chase him away. After that, Toy went upstairs to warn the idiots that no one was allowed to leak any news about anything related to Queen today. He would handle everything. RJ was worried that the cameras would record him taking Fa home, so he threw Fa into a trash pile. Meanwhile, Toy drugged Gale. Gale was immersed in a jumbled stream of consciousness, mistaking Toy for Shivas. A night of pleasure passed, just as Toy had intended. After Pepper, Toy's accomplice, heard about his scheme, he kept complaining that what he did was a bit too much. He thought that Toy was worried about being discovered dealing drugs. He felt that he just needed to destroy the evidence, and that there was no need to move the body. Sooner or later, something would happen. Scene change. A lot of pressure was put on RJ's group. They decided to express themselves by participating in a recreational sports activity with many people. But RJ's eyes were secretly directed towards the guy next to him. Clearly, RJ was still a mysterious man. On another side, Shivas confidently informed Gale that the undercover person he had sent had identified Pepper as a drug dealer. But every time the police went to arrest him, he always escaped. It was definitely due to the help of Toy, the nephew of the police chief. After much relentless effort from the undercover girl, she finally found out what happened on the night that Queen died. After hearing Toy's story, Gale knew that she was not the one who had cheated on Toy at all. So what else did she need to worry about? Toy kept apologizing and showing weakness to Gale. But Gale only said coldly, "I know all the bad things you did." Toy fell into a state of panic. What should he do to salvage this relationship? One person failed in love, and another succeeded happily. On Athens's and Fa's side, the misunderstanding had been resolved. There were no more obstacles. They could finally let themselves go, sinking into the starry sky on the bed. After a meaningful heart-to-heart, the two seemed to merge into each other. But Fa couldn't let Athens stay the night because Gale would be staying over. The sweet couple, regretting that they didn't want to leave each other, ended their pure love with a kiss on the cheek. When Shivas took Gale to Fa's house, both women's investigative spirits ignited. Fa wanted to know what the relationship between Gale and Shivas was. Gale wanted to ask Fa and Athens what had happened. Going back to the time when the three girls first met Toy, Queen was constantly telling her two girlfriends about Toy. Wealthy family, handsome looks, handsome and rich, a highly favored perfection. Many beautiful women wanted to get close to Toy, but they didn't know who he would choose. Gale couldn't stand the adoring expressions of her two best friends. She quietly went to the restroom. Unexpectedly, when she came out the door, she accidentally bumped into Toy's chest. Gale thought that Toy would be like all other men, asking her to help him get a date with Queen. But unexpectedly, Toy didn't care about Queen. On the contrary, he wanted to have Gale's contact information. Gale confidently and proudly showed off to her two best friends. She said that he wasn't interested in them. He liked her. Queen and Fa's faces immediately turned green. Gale and Toy progressed quickly. Before long, Toy had confessed his love, proposing that Gale be his girlfriend. When Gale told Queen about this news, Queen said congratulatory words, but her face showed jealousy. Back in the present, Toy arrived at school early and waited for Gale to appear. Fa was worried that Toy would hit Gale again. She wanted him to stay away from them. But Gale, she still wanted to talk to Toy in private. Toy begged Gale to forgive him, but he, with violence, drug dealing, and hiding bodies. Gale didn't want to continue the relationship with him. Rumors about Fa and RJ participating in a dark group spread throughout the classroom. Fa really admired the women who always let their mouths run wild. Yesterday they called her a murderer, and today they had already set up a new scenario. Not long after that, Fa received a call from Athens. She learned that Bennett, RJ's assistant, who had a car accident yesterday, had been secretly transferred to another hospital. Initially, Fa had hoped that he would wake up to help her testify. But now, things had become worse. That person had disappeared. RJ, at this moment, once again came to Fa, wanting her to go with him. Fa couldn't help but angrily question RJ about where he had taken Bennett. RJ replied innocently that it was all caused by Queen and Toy. What did it have to do with him? As long as Fa kept her mouth shut, they would definitely get past the police. But Fa, who respected justice, wouldn't lie. And even more so, she wasn't the same kind of person as him to be his accomplice. In addition, Fa advised Gale to break up with Toy immediately. To fall in love with a dangerous person like that was foolish. In the evening, the news broadcast information about the discovery of a large amount of different types of white powder in Pepper's room. Although there was physical evidence, Pepper had managed to escape in time. Shivas guessed that Toy must have used his connections to help Pepper escape. If they couldn't catch Pepper, they also wouldn't be able to catch Toy. Gale felt dejected because according to this development, it wouldn't be possible to bring Toy and his group to justice. Soon after that, even more depressing things happened. Gale's upcoming drama was suddenly postponed. As expected, because Gale's resources came from Toy. If Gale dared to break up with Toy, she would no longer have the opportunity to become a star. On the other hand, because of Fa's incident, it had affected the swimming team's practice. The coach had high hopes that Athens would be chosen as a representative to participate in the competition. But every day, because of romantic affairs, he was delaying his future. How could that be okay? Athens came to find Fa, but she felt that he shouldn't sacrifice his future for her. They were nothing to each other. Athens, hearing these words, felt heartbroken. On the other hand, a mysterious person using Queen's account agreed with Fa that as long as she broke up with Athens, that person would give Fa the video recording from that night so that she could use it as evidence against RJ and his group. To obtain the evidence, Fa was forced to seriously tell Athens that she was just joking with him and ask him not to bother her anymore. Athens was speechless because women flipped their faces faster than flipping a book. After Fa chased Athens away, she quickly asked the mysterious person who they were and why they could use Queen's account. But unexpectedly, that person said, "She is Queen." Fa was scared, not knowing how deranged the person behind this was. Scene change. Toy had discovered the mole that Shivas had planted, Minnie, and had beaten, threatened, and used her as a bargaining chip. Looking at Minnie's bruised appearance, it seemed that she had gone through a lot of hardship. Toy threatened Shivas that if he didn't stop opposing him, Minnie would be going to meet her ancestors right away. Shivas, seeing that Toy was serious and was also using a gun, could only yield. He worried about Fa's safety, but Toy said that he had already appeased Gale. From now on, he forbade Shivas from approaching Gale. Shivas didn't believe that Fa would go back to a villain. He urgently called Fa to confirm, but he couldn't reach her. Meanwhile, Gale was filming with a flourish, under Toy's protection. She had the resources to choose freely. While filming a scene in a school uniform, Gale was suddenly pulled back to her high school days. At that time, she was an excellent student, but the teacher's favoritism towards her made students with poor academic performance jealous. They were talking reproachfully in the restroom, saying that the teacher had favored Fa by letting her see the exam questions in advance. Unexpectedly, their secrets had been heard by the person involved. The situation became very awkward, and the students were scolded and were bitter. On that day, Gale was kidnapped right after class ended. She was forced to kneel on the ground. A disgusting transparent plastic bag was placed over her head, and then cold water was poured over her. Bullying in schools was pretty much the same everywhere. These female students, after finishing their business with Gale, left naturally. While Gale was still in shock, Queen appeared. She said that she and Gale had known each other for a long time. As long as Gale was willing to be friends with her, she would help Gale take revenge. The two had since joined hands to become good friends, and the revenge pact was officially established. The first girl had her plate of food dumped on her head by Queen. The second girl had a plastic bag placed over their heads by the two of them, and cold water was poured over them, just like they did to Gale. And the third girl was beaten until she had to kneel down and apologize. Back in the present, while Shivas was watching TV, he unexpectedly discovered that Gale was continuing to play the main role in the drama that Queen had previously taken on. When asked if she felt guilty about taking on the role of her deceased friend in the film, Gale replied that the more Queen wanted to play this role, the more she had to try her best to play it well, to fulfill her wish. This was what would truly make her happy. Regarding the progress of the case related to Queen, Gale kept her mouth shut. Shivas admired Gale's persevering spirit and decided he had to find a way to talk to her. Scene change. Fa revealed to the police that she was looking for evidence to prove her innocence. Recently, someone impersonating Queen's Instagram account had promised her that if Fa and Athens broke up, he would reveal information to her. But the other party was very cunning. He had revoked all the conversations. Later, when Fa went to class, she met Athens. She remembered the condition of the person impersonating Queen. Fa was forced to make Athens angry. She wrinkled her face, showing an angry attitude to Athens. "Are you lusting after my body? If you want to do it, just say it directly." Athens, hearing these words, was extremely angry and immediately turned away. After class, Shivas found Gale and asked her why she accepted and integrated herself into a relationship with a perverted and violent madman like Toy. It goes without saying that this was extremely dangerous. Gale warned Shivas not to meddle too much in her affairs, because there were some things that only Toy could provide. Not only was Shivas shocked when he saw Gale get into Toy's car as if nothing had happened, but Fa's actions also confused everyone. She had organized a party to prove that she had broken up with Athens. She had specifically called RJ to take pictures together. RJ admitted that giving drugs to Fa that day was his fault, but Queen had used his secret to threaten him. He also had no other choice. Fa suspiciously asked about what RJ's secret was. Wasn't it that RJ liked men? Everyone at school knew about this, except RJ, who thought that other people didn't know. RJ was still trying to harass Fa by pretending to be a straight guy. Before that, RJ had sent nude photos to Fa daily to harass her. Fa felt dejected until Queen told her the secret. RJ was gay. Needless to say, Fa was very happy when she found this out. Scene change. Shiva sneaked into Queen's house in the dark of night. Luckily, the aunt had gone out that day. Shivas could search freely. He found a locked drawer. When he opened it and looked, he saw a neatly arranged set of DVDs. Shivas immediately called Fa and Athens over and watched the content on these DVDs together. The first video showed RJ and another muscular guy sharing a sweet kiss. It turned out that Queen had created a secret DVD for everyone around her, with little secrets that they didn't want anyone to know. Strangely, only Gale and Toy didn't have a secret DVD. Fa proposed watching the content of the other DVDs, but both men felt that it was other people's privacy, and that watching them was unethical. Currently, Chivas was very worried about Gale's safety. Last time, he couldn't save Queen, and this time, he didn't want to repeat the same mistake. He asked Fa if she knew of anything that Gale could be blackmailed with. Fa hesitated and thought before replying. Could it be an issue from their first year? But she didn't reveal it directly. This had to wait for Gail to tell it herself. On the other hand, Toy promised Gail that he would definitely no longer associate with Pepper. He just hoped that Gail wouldn't run away from him again. Gail suddenly remembered Queen's teachings from the past, that the truly brave person is the one who dares to face problems, never evading. Therefore, Gail changed her expression to a determined state. She would definitely ruin his life, and vowed that she would never run away until she had destroyed Toy's life. Hearing this, Toy angrily slammed the table. If it weren't for Queen, Toy would never have known that Gail wasn't a good person. This seemed to hurt Gail. She unconsciously slapped Toy in the face. Both sides engaged in a fierce struggle. Gail couldn't resist and was pushed onto the table by Toy. She picked up a shard and stabbed it straight into Toy's neck. A bright red wound appeared. Toy was stunned, and the expression on his face changed. At this moment, RJ's call drew Toy's attention. RJ didn't want to hide the truth about the night Queen fell from the building. The pressure was too much. He didn't hesitate to make a huge demand, asking Toy to pay $300 million. If he didn't see the money tomorrow, then this secret would be made public. As soon as RJ hung up the phone, he glanced at the white-shirted guy next to him. A magnetic feeling of desire flashed, and the two jumped at each other like fish meeting water. The white-shirted guy naturally asked RJ, "My place or your place? Or whose place?" But RJ was preoccupied with something that happened that night, so he suddenly stopped his passionate actions and decisively left. RJ worriedly remembered when Queen had threatened him with a video of his sexual encounter. If RJ didn't follow Queen's orders, those videos would appear in front of his conservative father. At this moment, RJ received a message from Toy, saying that he was only willing to pay $100 million. RJ thought that $100 million was also good. There was no need to be too greedy. On another side, Toy was also remembering the past when he was threatened by Queen. Initially, Toy, although from a noble lineage, was nothing to be proud of, and still had to live by mingling with drug dealers. Queen continuously blackmailed Toy, using his weakness. If Toy didn't pay, she would reveal Toy's incompetence to Gail. Undeniably, to keep Gail, Toy was always giving money to Queen. That was also true love. That night, Toy accidentally read Queen's message to Gail. She left Gail with some things related to her and Toy. After reading it, Toy had immediately deleted that message. What had Queen ultimately left for Gail? Maybe it would reveal his secrets? Back in the present, after drinking a glass of red wine, Toy gradually lost consciousness. Gail immediately went to open Toy's safe, but she tried the password many times, and it wasn't correct. Gail worriedly remembered the day she was rejected by the film crew. She suspected whether Toy had cut off her resources. Toy didn't do anything. If Gail left him, then everyone would fall into hell together. Gail's anger escalated quickly. Wasn't it just a TV drama? If she didn't film, then she wouldn't film. But unexpectedly, Toy said confidently that he could also ruin Gail's life. He proudly took out the USB containing Gail's secrets that Queen had collected. The dark past appeared before her eyes. Gail lunged forward to turn off the computer, but of course, it wasn't easy. Toy was very satisfied seeing Gail's attitude like this. With this USB, Gail wouldn't be able to leave him anymore. However, Toy had underestimated Gail's ruthlessness. When Toy woke up again, he found himself tied up in the bathtub. It turned out that last night, Gail had put drugs in his wine. Gail was no longer like the little rabbit she was before. She was now like a ferocious wolf. She forced him to reveal the safe password. If he didn't tell her, she would turn on the water and drown him. When she saw the water getting close to his mouth, Toy panicked. Finally, he fearfully agreed to say the password. Gail successfully retrieved the USB containing her secrets. She took the drive and left without a care. Meanwhile, the tragic ending was that Toy still had to soak in the water. After leaving Toy's house, Gail went to Chivas's house with the face of a pitiful little rabbit, saying that she had nowhere to go, so she wanted to stay at his house. Chivas was deceived by her overly good acting skills, and added to that was Gail's initiative kiss. Who could resist that? Scene change. Athens secretly hid the USBs he had found from Queen in the cabinet to prevent Fa, this curious person, from secretly opening and looking at them. Athens exposed that Fa always said things that went against her heart, that her thoughts and words were inconsistent. For example, the reason she broke up with him was too ridiculous. Unexpectedly, the elevator malfunctioned, forcing them to create an opportunity for the two of them to reveal their feelings. First was fake Queen, who threatened Fa that if she didn't stay away from Athens, she would never get the video from that night. Fa suspected she had nothing, just empty threats. But unexpectedly, the person sent her a photo excerpt from the video and very quickly revoked it. Athens discovered that Fa was talking with fake Queen. He quickly asked Fa what she was doing with her. Fa accidentally said fake Queen's threat and said the condition was break up with Athens. She also revealed to Athens that after returning home, she had opened her USB, but inside, there were only pictures of her when she was drunk that everyone had already seen. There was nothing as exciting as the picture in bed that fake Queen had sent. Even the person in the video wasn't her. Fa admitted that she was inconsistent. For example, she seemed to try to stay away from Athens. But actually, she felt that she wasn't worthy of a good guy like Athens. When Athens heard this, he felt very happy. He proactively let Fa see the secrets that Queen had kept about him. It turned out that they were just pictures of his ugly body before Athens lost weight. It seemed that Athens really was an overly innocent person. Queen could only dig up things like that. The two talked for a while and opened their hearts. Immediately, both of them once again fell into a sweet situation. Neither of them could bear it. They hugged each other like this and that. Fa even posted an intimate photo of them. A surprising scene occurred. The person sending messages from Queen's account to Fa turned out to be Athens' coach. This person was truly unreliable, not sincere with Athens. When she saw Fa's intimate photo, she was so angry that her eyes flashed with a ferocious look. She angrily asked Fa if she wanted to destroy the evidence. Fa immediately responded with a devilish face. People who were immersed in love didn't care about other things. The coach was annoyed as she remembered the night Queen fell from the building. She had thought that Queen was going out with Athens, so she had secretly followed her. But unexpectedly, Queen told her that the person Athens liked was Fa. Queen mocked the coach, saying that no one wanted her. The coach was extremely annoyed, threatening to reveal that Queen had used drugs. Queen wasn't afraid at all, saying that if she dared to reveal her secret, she would also expose her secret. The angry coach grabbed Queen's neck and pushed her near the railing of the balcony. Queen, who was drunk, was adding fuel to the fire, constantly challenging the coach to make a move. The memory ended. Was she the one who pushed Queen from the building or not? On the police side, they discovered that the house where Queen had used drugs before she died was Toy's house. The drugs may also have been provided by Toy. The order to move Queen's body was also given by Toy. This was a bit complicated, because Toy was the nephew of the deputy chief of police. If their family applied pressure and affected the investigation, what should they do? The policewoman remembered RJ's underling, who had been hit by a car. To protect the witness, she had secretly moved him away. She led Bennett to quickly tell the truth. However, Bennett had fallen asleep and didn't know what happened that night. When they woke up, Toy had arrived and made a big scene, saying, "Queen is dead." Therefore, the only person who knew clearly about the events of that night was RJ. The screen changed. The battle in bed between Gail and Shivas ended. Gail secretly crawled up to look at her private video. It turned out that it was a video of her having a relationship with some teacher. Just as she sat up, she unexpectedly discovered Shivas standing behind her. Shivas knew that the content of the USB couldn't be copied, so at least Toy couldn't reveal Gail's secrets. Gail worried that Shivas had seen the video, but the guy went closer to her with care and sincerely promised her that he had never looked at it. Whatever Gail's private secrets were, she was completely safe now. This guy really knew how to make other people fall for him. The next day, Shivas was captivated by the sight of Gail sleeping soundly. In her dream, Gail returned to that nightmarish night, when she followed the address that Queen had sent her and knocked on the door. Unexpectedly, the person who opened the door was a man. Gail, frightened, immediately woke up. On the other side, Fa posted a photo on her status feed, only for the coach to see it. As a result, fake Queen had posted this photo in a bizarre way. The information that fake Queen was the coach was confirmed. Athens didn't understand why the coach would do such a thing. Fa didn't know what to say. What else could it be? The coach definitely liked him. On the other hand, Toy was truly miserable. He was soaking in the bathtub until his body had swollen up. Not only that, but he also couldn't answer RJ's phone calls. RJ thought that Toy had broken his promise and was refusing to pay. He then went to blackmail the coach. It turned out that on Athens' birthday, the coach had given him a branded watch and taken the opportunity to grope him. RJ really couldn't stand this scene. The coach initially wanted to invite Athens to celebrate together, but RJ told the coach that Athens had a date with the beautiful and hot Queen tonight. The coach, upon hearing this, became jealous like a fire burning. She went crazy and attacked Queen. But Queen was a strong person, the boss who held everyone's secrets, and the coach was no exception. Queen knew that the coach always used her position to earn money. If the truth was exposed, it would definitely cause the coach to lose her standing. Returning to the present, RJ demanded $200 million from the coach. The coach, with a look of disbelief, asked if he was crazy, or was she crazy. RJ said that throughout all these years, the money that her father had given her was countless. It was only $200 million. What was she hesitating about? If she didn't give him the money, he would tell others that on the night Queen died, she was also in the room. Suddenly, Fa and Athens appeared. The skillful RJ immediately fled, and the coach was caught red-handed just in time. According to the coach's words, that night, she had followed RJ and his group, seeing Queen in a daze on the balcony. After an argument, RJ had seized the opportunity to knock Queen unconscious. The coach then took Queen's phone. RJ said that someone had ordered him to make Queen unconscious, and then take her to another room. The coach didn't care about whether Queen lived or died. She only seized the opportunity to unlock the phone using Queen's fingerprint. After RJ took the person to room 703, they each went home. So it seemed that neither of them were the culprit. Then, in another room, who was waiting for Queen? Back in the present, Toy invited Shivas out to have a negotiation between men. Toy proudly challenged Shivas. If I tell you Gale's secret, you will definitely bring her back immediately. Toy revealed that Gale has a tendency to selectively forget. Other people lie to deceive, but Gale lies and even deceives herself. Especially when she does something wrong or bad, she can pretend that nothing happened. The reason for this was Professor Fat, who was currently looming in the political scene. Gale had pushed the USB containing her secrets into the toilet. She remembered Queen's initial promise to her, that if she revealed her secret, she would be devoured. That promise had been made. Was it possible that Gale had carried out this action? After careful consideration, Gale called Professor Fat and said that Toy has seen their video. Professor Fat worried that discussing this issue over the phone wasn't safe. He wanted to invite Gale to meet and talk, but was directly rejected by Gale. In the past, Professor Fat was very popular with female students due to his elegant and stylish appearance. Queen confessed to him very passionately. But Professor Fat didn't care about Queen, but was very proactive with Gale. The relationship between them developed quickly and intensely like fire. Although in the eyes of others, this relationship was taboo. Gale was so infatuated that she considered it to be her first love, one she couldn't quit. One day, Professor Fat proposed filming a video with Gale, because he would feel more excited doing both things at the same time. He promised that he would delete the video after filming and would never let it leak. Gale, in her passionate state of love, believed his lies. Later, Queen took the video that Professor Fat had filmed and used it to mock Gale, saying that she had been deceived by a bad man. Gale angrily slapped Queen. Who did Queen think she was? The two girls then started fighting, their hair getting messed up. After the two best friends had finished fighting, they went together to deal with the bad man. Gale hit Professor Fat with a vase, causing him to be injured. Returning to the present, Gale wanted to voluntarily confess her foolish youthful past to Shivas. But Shivas had already heard about this story from Toy before. He didn't care about Gale's past. He only hoped that Gale would live in peace and safety. Shivas was indeed the most perfect man in this film. The next day, when Gale checked the cloud backup on her system, she discovered that Queen had once said that she would return Gale's secret to her. Meanwhile, the coach, impersonating Queen, sent Gale the room number that Queen had been taken to. But this information had been deleted from Gale's mobile phone. Gale still insisted that she didn't clearly remember what had happened that night. Everyone felt confused. Why had Queen sent a message to Gale? And the way she called Shivas was like she knew that someone was going to murder her. Professor Fat was currently having a prosperous and good life. Not only had he married a beauty, but he was also about to be promoted to become a minister, and was also about to become a father. On his way home, Professor Fat remembered the progress of Queen's case when he heard it on the radio. He couldn't help but remember the days when he had been blackmailed by Queen, who had used his and Gale's video. With Queen, no amount of money could shut her up. She was like a bottomless pit, never full. Queen was becoming increasingly excessive. Even later, she didn't collect the money herself, but sent RJ to do it instead. Professor Fat and RJ, after a conversation, realized that they were all people who had lost their freedom because of Queen, who had twisted and imposed on them. Only when Queen disappeared would they be able to live peacefully. Returning to the present, Professor Fat, RJ, and Toy met. Professor Fat reproached Toy for doing too many unnecessary things. If it weren't for him moving Queen's body, then the case would have ended perfectly with Queen's death being ruled as a suicide. Toy was also very upset. If he had known that these two wanted to take down Queen, he wouldn't have intervened. RJ became even more angry. He didn't even know that Professor Fat had the intention to murder Queen. On that night, Professor Fat invited Gale to talk about the events of that day. Professor Fat had paid RJ a large sum of money and then fled. RJ realized that the situation was not good and immediately fled. Professor Fat immediately gave chase with a gun. In the critical situation, Gale called to arrange a meeting with Professor Fat. Meanwhile, RJ called Fa to ask for help. He told Fa that the person who took Queen to the room that night was Professor Fat, and the person who murdered Queen was also Professor Fat. If he lost his life today, then the murderer would definitely still be Professor Fat. As soon as RJ finished speaking, he was knocked unconscious by Professor Fat. After RJ woke up, he took advantage of the opportunity when Professor Fat wasn't paying attention to retaliate. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out. Professor Fat fell into a pool of blood. In his dazed state, Professor Fat remembered that, after kidnapping Queen that night, he had intended to inject Queen with poison and then push her from the high floor. At that time, everyone would think that Queen had committed suicide after overdosing on drugs. Queen, upon hearing this, not only wasn't afraid, but she also mocked Professor Fat as a coward who didn't dare to do anything. Back in the present, Toy found Gale and confessed his love passionately. He affirmed that he was the one who loved her the most in this world. Everything he did that night was for her sake. Gale angrily asked Toy not to interfere in her affairs. Did he think that she had killed Queen? Toy said, "The things you did yourself, you know them best." He tried to beg Gale to run away with him, but Gale firmly refused. Toy could only inject a shot of anaphylaxis. Before losing consciousness, Gale remembered when she had met Professor Fat while searching for Queen that night. Professor Fat had kept Queen's video and blackmailed her. Everything had been revealed by Professor Fat completely in front of Gale, and he had even injected Queen right before her eyes. Gale suddenly woke up. The person standing next to her was Chivas. Chivas comforted Gale, saying that there was no need to be afraid. Everything was over. Professor Fat had passed away. RJ was considered to be acting in self-defense. Toy had also been arrested. Gale, upon hearing this, immediately decided to go to the police because she had remembered everything. She told the police that the truth was that Professor Fat had murdered Queen. It seemed that everything had returned to normal, but the truth was only known by Gale. On that night, she had grabbed a vase and knocked Professor Fat unconscious. She had advised Queen to quickly delete her and Professor Fat's adult video. But Queen had only laughed crazily, saying that Gale was the dumbest person in the world. Gale, in anger, pushed Queen down from the upper floor. The truth was revealed. It turned out that Gale was the final boss. With this, the entire story of the Thai movie, One Night Stand, had come to an end. The thrilling and ambiguous chase scenes had ended here. A splendid night of lies had opened up a period full of blood and interwoven with alcohol, drugs, and a night of fleeting relationships. All of this paralyzed the human spirit with shallow and dangerous relationships, friendship, love, secrets, a messy and bloody web of interests. Everyone was blinded by the truth. The seemingly crazy one-night stand goddess actually always desired a pure love. The school queen, on the surface, seemed to dominate, but was also just pretending to be rich. The harmless white flowers could cause fatal blows. Obsessive love could cause people to lose everything. Vows couldn't stand the test. Nature couldn't stand the examination. All we could do was hold on to our purity, innocence, and clarity. So today our movie ends here. We hope that everyone will support by liking and sharing. And you can also leave your opinions in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to follow the next episodes. We will meet again in the next movie.